How's it going, folks? Taylor Wachowski here. Today we're going to be working with Zeus, a very reactive dog, on leash and off leash when there's a fence. He has a lot of barrier reactivity, which basically just means that he feels trapped or confined, and that causes him to react outwardly, which seems aggressive. I think in his case, it's that he's just so overstimulated and excited that he wants to meet the other dog that it shows in this very aggressive manner. So this is the second week that I've been working with Zeus alone. I've worked with him plenty of times before with his people, but this is the second week in a row that I've worked just one-on-one with him. We're in this beautiful fenced-in area, running around, and I'm just working with him on fence reactivity, leash reactivity, teaching him that anytime you react, we're going to increase distance and move away. I'm going to get you under threshold so I can start to reward and reinforce the behavior that I would prefer and his people would prefer. So here we have a little blue heeler on leash walking in front of us. Zeus is reacting. The other dog is also reacting. So I try to drag Zeus away to prevent him from reacting, for one, and also to prevent the other dog from reacting, for another. It's always, if you can manage to do that, even if your dog looks excited, it's very important to, and it's also polite, to be aware of the other dog. Even if that dog looks like they're pulling their owner down, it's probably a good idea to move away. They don't want to play. They don't want to say hello. You're probably going to make that owner very irritated. So here I let go of the leash at the wrong time. He runs after the dog. So if anybody gets seasick, fast forward 20 seconds because I'm going to be running after Zeus here. I don't just walk, okay? Notice that I'm running after him to try to fix this issue. This lady and her dog are planting themselves and just standing there. She's trying her best to keep her dog under control. Not at all their fault, entirely my fault. Be able to acknowledge that and move on. I don't hate myself. I'm not thinking I'm, an idiot. I just think, man, that was, not the right thing to do. So we run in the opposite direction. I happen to let go of Zeus because I feel at that time that he's going to continue running in that direction. Now, could that have also turned around to bite me in the back? Yeah, probably. He could have turned around and gone back for the dog. So I would always recommend just hold on to the dog and the leash until you know that you're far enough away and below threshold so your dog is not going to turn back around and start a fight again. Now, not that he was going to purposely start a fight. He was just reactive and excited, and the other dog, is just mirroring that behavior. So today I have my 20-foot neoprene, bright orange long line. I mentioned the other video, of course we always have water. I mentioned the other video that I like to use neoprene or even leather. Leather of course is not a requirement, but it's just easier in the hands. So now we have a dog. This is a perfect example. Zeus is going crazy. The other dog is very excited, and these people stand there and want to allow them to sniff. So I don't say anything. I just go over, I leash up Zeus, and I remove him from the situation. The people apologize, and I say, hey, no worries, don't worry about it. We're just training. So what could have helped me, which I'm not expecting them to, is maybe they will learn from this, is that just because their dog seems excited and my dog appears excited, maybe don't go in for a sniff and say hello, because that would reinforce and reward and continue this behavior. So they're going for a little walk, no problem. I'm just working with Zeus, minding my own business. They're minding their own business. Again, this is nothing on them. This is more of, me being able to control my dog. Now, even now that he's really pulling and going crazy, this is still much better than he would have been the first couple of times I worked with Zeus. So we're able to, meaning that his threshold, the distance between him and the other dog is so much shorter. So this right here is amazing. This is just a mind-blowing breakthrough for us to see that distance. So I'm able to get him. You can see he's kind of a little frothy. He's, getting a little foamy at the mouth. So we're going to go make sure he gets some water. And I apologize, my GoPro is a little, steamed up or frosted up or whatever. It's cold outside, but hopefully you can see well enough. So that was a lot covered in a very short period of time. So I hope you caught all of that. Basically, the message to any of my videos is, one, always have water available for your dog, clean water. Two, always make sure that you can have control of your dog, and if they are reactive, make sure to move away from whatever the stimulus is. If you have room to move away, perfect. If you don't, like the blue heeler earlier, and you have to just plant yourself, do the best you can to manage your dog and keep them from getting into trouble or getting hurt, and manage them, try to work on make sure they don't hurt somebody else. Blech, words. So Here, Zeus is going to see this car, so I'm giving him an instant to look at the car. He starts to react, so I say, okay, we're immediately going to go back. We're not going to go do this. We're not going to bark at the car. He kind of stopped. Okay, we can move forward, and that would be his real-life reward versus having a treat. So for anybody who has not seen the first video, I say this in every video I do of reactivity. When the dog is able to exhibit the behavior, whether they're playful and they're having a good time, or they're trying to kill the car or bunny or whatever it is, they are being rewarded, believe it or not. They are being reinforced. That behavior is going to continue in the future. So to prevent that, we work with prevention, so we don't allow them to get to that point where they spiral and I say we lose the dog because he's just in hindbrain, he's reactive, he's thinking, he's just, he doesn't hear us, tunnel vision. We prevent that, or if it happens, we just increase distance. So what I should put on a t-shirt, and I probably will, besides my answer to just about everything, is that it could be, depending on what question you ask, or that it depends, because everything depends on the context and the situation, is that if it looks like you're doing nothing at all, you're standing around with your dog, then perfect, you're doing it right. If you're standing around, it looks like you're doing nothing, you're doing it right. Especially with reactivity. Right here, he came up to me, he sat down, I'm able to reward him. I didn't ask for a single sit. I don't ask for a sit. I'm getting my clicker on, trying to see if I want to work with the clicker. I still marked during that time, paying attention that he's been, I'm aware that he's been sitting there, so I want to make sure to reward him, reinforce, or reward, or continue this behavior, whatever you want to call it. I want him to continue looking at me. So my rate of reinforcement looks like it increased a little bit, so there may be a distraction in the foreground, to the left of us or to the right of us. He is drooling. These are all signs that he's just a very stimulated dog. He's got his cute little shirt on today, which is, kind of helps as a compression, keeps him kind of calm, might keep him warm because it's kind of cold out. And he just looks adorable too. But the main point is to keep him calm and comfortable. So he's over here sniffing. He's just walking around. Again, it looks like we're not doing anything. Even right now, we are actively training. Zeus is learning. Anytime you interact with a dog, you are teaching them something, whether you're aware of it or not, and whether it's something you want them to learn or not. So he looked at something. I'm able to get him to come back to me. Reward, terrific. A lot of people would see that as, oh, you just rewarded that dog for nothing. No, I rewarded him for looking. He didn't bark. Even if he was looking at nothing. That's where I start. I want him to be able to react to nothing. And then we build up that habit of him being able to look at nothing and come back to me. And then we slowly introduce other distractions. So a lot of people think that it should be, I need to set my dog up to react so I can correct him. And it doesn't work. It makes things worse. Trust me. I've had many cases like that where it just makes things worse from my past. So Adonis was my poor little guinea pig that it didn't work. So Zeus might have seen something. I was able to back away. I tried to get in front of his shoulder to get in the corner of his eyesight so that way I could back away and get his attention. So we go back to sniff. He's coming over here to do a little sniff. I'm taking in the slack on my lead. And you notice I don't have a death grip on it. Most of the time I don't need to, but I'm still aware of the slack of the lead. So I'm aware of people in the environment. So that way he doesn't just like pull me down, or he doesn't go and slam into the end of the lead, if it's really loose like this. So he kind of pulls me forward. I wasn't quite paying attention, or I didn't see another dog coming around the corner. So now he's going crazy. Might be the blue heeler again. So I have to really reel him in. The one thing I will say about neoprene is that it's very slippery when it's wet, so I'm having trouble holding on. So normally I don't like seeing people who have to wear gloves to interact with animals because it shows a lack of understanding of how animals work. But in this case, if you're going to use a neoprene and it's wet, you might consider using gloves, or you might consider using a leather leash or something that has a little bit better grip to it. So anyway, we're just moving forward. He reacted. I'm still moving back, trying to get his attention. Sometimes you have to kind of dance around. I'm bending my body forward. That's why the camera kind of goes to the ground. My upper body is going, leaning forward, so I'm kind of making myself smaller. So I think that person walking away might be the blue heeler. Maybe just a person walking by. So he's excited. He sees something else. We walk back and forth. Now you notice that he's on leash this whole time because I learned my lesson that at this point he cannot be off leash because it's too easy for him to be reinforced for behavior and too easy for me to not be able to prevent it, or too difficult to prevent it, I should say. So he's on leash. Now I am happy to spend an hour or even 40 minutes. For me, I don't mind an hour, but for a lot of people, maybe 30 minutes walking up and down this fence and working with him versus having him run back and forth for 20 minutes or going after a ball or a frisbee like a lot of people do to tire their dogs out. This is also something I touched on in the previous video, but for anybody who's new here or this is the first video they've seen, I always like to explain it. Again, that a tired dog physically is probably rearing to go again in another hour, but a dog who's been tired mentally, which is what we're doing here, we're working with his mental state of mind, teaching him to have self-control, impulse control, be comfortable with things that he's fearful of, or things that overstimulate him, cause a fight or flight reaction with him. That will stick with the dog, and it keeps them tired or calmer for a longer period of time than if you had just run them for 5 miles. So here he's showing interest. I'm allowing him to look. That little foot goes up for a reason, showing that he's not super sure of what it is that he hears. He's showing a little bit of anxiety. He walks away. Terrific. I like to allow my dogs to look and take in information and think. I allow my dogs, the dogs I work with, to think for themselves and see what decision they want to make. If they react, no problem. We'll just back up. If they're able to look and I can make a noise and distract them and they look at me, then terrific. I can reward them and allow them to go back to looking. So here we're just walking around, just letting him sniff. I'm keeping an eye out in the environment to see if there's other dogs coming by, other people coming by. And if I saw one, the very instant that I see them, I want to start getting Zeus's attention. So that way I have his mind already. He's not, to the point where he's overstimulated and he gets excited and he wants to go chase them and, be all crazy dog. And that kicking behavior you see is something that a lot of dogs will learn, usually when they're, in a shelter environment or with other dogs. It's kind of, they're spreading their scent and their oils and whatever, and they're making a big show saying, this is my territory, I'm a big dog, I'm a big tough dog, being flashy. So we're just walking along. Again, this is all training. Just taking your dog for a walk, that's training your dog. Your dog can learn to pull, they can learn to say hello to other dogs. They can learn to pull you to other dogs. They can learn to roll on a dead squirrel. They can learn they can eat things out of the trash before you can get to them. Or they can learn they can focus on you. They can learn to enjoy a walk with you. They can learn not to pull. They can learn that a scary thing may happen, but that you'll take care of it and they can trust you. They don't have to be fearful when they're around you. So there's a dog on the other side of this fence here. There's actually a dog run. So there's 2 fences in between us. And there's another dog over there. And this is a great time for Zeus to be able to see the dog. He wanted to run a little bit. He's a little excited, so I might move him back. So that stiff tail there, it's wagging, just saying that he's very alert, he's very stimulated, but I'm able to get him back to me. So that's terrific. So that shows that he's below threshold. Again, this is huge progress for him compared to the first even 2 months that I worked with him. And what caused a lot of this was that he was attacked. Full-on attacked, needed, I believe, some stitches, almost lost an eye. He was attacked at a dog park, off-leash. He was on leash when they entered. A big Malamute was off-leash, and an altercation happened. So after that, Zeus's behavior changed. Go figure. It's very, very common. That's why I avoid dog parks. I don't trust the dogs there, the people there. I don't know how people raise their dogs, and a lot of people bring unsocialized dogs to a dog park to socialize them. So it's basically a bunch of wild children going to a playground, and what they learn from each other, they learn from each other. People are not aware of what they're teaching other kids, and it's the same with dogs. So that's just my little rant. I have a rant on my channel, probably oftentimes, about dog parks and why I avoid them. So Zeus is looking right now. You could tell. If you can't tell, he's getting tired, which I appreciate. He's working his mind out. He's getting tired. He's still excited. Don't get me wrong. Just because he's tired does not mean that he's still going to react. You can still react even if you're dog tired, you're flopping on the ground, you can barely breathe. It's just that instinct, innate part of your brain that just says, hey, fight or flight, survival, adrenaline rush. So he starts reacting, so I'm pulling him back. We're walking, we're trying to increase distance. I think there's another person there with another poodle, or it might be the poodle people that came back. So I'm just trying to drag him back. Now this field is different than the other one. It's more long than it is wide and deep. So I have to, drag him a further distance to the right versus just walking back. And it doesn't help that their dog is easily just as excited. Their dog is just as excited, so it wants to, say hello, because that dog is probably used to being able to say hello. It reacts and it lunges and it whines and it cries because that has allowed it to go say hello to another dog before. If it never got to say hello following that behavior, then it wouldn't whine and cry necessarily as a way to go see the other dog. If they had only learned the only time you get to go see a dog is when you're calm, they would probably be calm as a way to say, hey, now do I get to go say hi to a dog? And that's what I'm teaching Zeus. You don't get to act like a crazy wild man to go say hello. You can stand and look, but you can't touch and you can't go crazy. So even here, he's sitting, which is better, but he's still barking. I don't mind if he's standing. Of course I appreciate the sit, but I'd rather him stand and be silent than sit and bark. So we're really working on the barking now. We can work on the other body language later. Which personally, I don't care if I don't, force my dog to sit to go say hello, or, that, to me, that just makes my dog shark bait, makes them appear like makes them more vulnerable, makes them appear like they're more calm than they may be. So now he's reactive to the car. I allow him to sit there and think. I move back. I call him back. Terrific. Here is an example of him being under threshold. Before, when he's going crazy at the end of a leash, he's way over threshold. So don't worry about calling them, using their name, because then it just means nothing. They learn to ignore it. Don't give them cues or commands. I say cue, but I say command so people might understand it better. Don't give them a sit or a come or you bad dog or this or that. They don't even hear that. And they don't need it. They're not being a bad dog. They're just reactive, and as a human, we allowed it to happen, or it just happened by nature, and we can control it. So you don't need to sit there and reprimand them and yell at them and jerk them and pop them. Just move them back. Yeah, I do this without saying anything. He's able to come back much quicker. Good boy, he can get a little reward, and then we can still walk our way up there. I allow him to go back to the scene of the crime, as long as he's calm. So my camera had cut off there and went off to this other scene, so I think it's going to die pretty soon here. But, is that where it ends? I guess so. Yeah, alright. Well, anyway, that's enough of my rambling. That's just, part 2 of the video. I hope you got something out of it, out of all my babbling. There's a lot of talking that goes on in it, but, each picture, each second of this can be worth 1,000 words. So I hope that you got something from it. Again, Zeus is awesome. He's making just leaps and bounds in his training, even though he was reactive. This was just kind of an off day. The leash was sliding. It was slippery. It was a different dog run setup. There's just a lot going on, but I don't mind it. I want him to be out there and be fresh and be a dog. It's more realistic. So if you couldn't tell, I'm very nonchalant about obedience and all that. I don't really care about obedience and stuff. It's something fun to teach, but I'd much rather a dog be calm and comfortable on leash and be able to listen to me and still be a dog than be the best sitter or down or focused heel in the world. So, all right, that's enough of my tangent. So I, again, hope you appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. And until next time, stay positive.